And welcome back as we continue to remember Don Schwab. One of those one-on-ones I had with Don was after his stint at HTV, he had decided to run for parish president, and he was successful. He won that race, and he became the parish president. And I had a chance to sit upstairs with Don in the Terrebonne Parish Government Tower, and we chatted about life and about him being parish president. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this segment of One-on-One. I'm Martin Falls, and tonight, a very special guest, a man who used to work for us at HTV, was a general manager for 5 years, now the parish president, Don Schwab. Don, welcome to the program tonight.
Thanks for having me, Martin. I'm looking forward to this.
All right. Yeah, we always said when we interviewed each other, if we can keep a straight face, it'll be nice. Let's go way back. What's the earliest years you can recollect? Take us there.
Well, I remember my childhood very, very well, Martin. And I was born and raised in a little community called Schwab, Louisiana, which is located off of 308 going toward Labradorville. And it's just a little community out in the woods, and really stayed there till I was in the 7th grade. And I could recall the days when during the daytime we would raise shallots and sweet potatoes and corn, and at night I can remember my daddy, and when I was too young to go with him, he would trap, mink and hunt turtle eggs, and so I could remember those days very, very well.
How fond are you looking back at those days and seeing where you are now? And of course we'll talk about everything in between, but how proud of you of the fact that that's where you came from? Oh,
I'm very proud of that. I learned a lot of things in the Schwab area from my family, from my mother and father, and from my brothers and my sister, Fernand, who's my oldest sister, Jerry, and Huey. I had a brother, Huey, that was killed, but I learned a lot, Martin. We learned to survive. I mean, we were survivors off the land, really. We didn't buy very much at the stores. We got our milk and eggs and meat and everything right there where we were born and raised.
I remember talking to you. As a matter of fact, you took me there one time and showed me some of the places where you grew up. How big a community was that? Very small.
I could, if I remember right, we didn't have in excess of maybe 12 homes back there. It was just a very closely knit bunch of people, Ponvels, Guillots, Schwabs, and that was basically it.
Tell me about your family, your sisters and brothers, and your mom and dad. What was expected of Don Schwab growing up, and where did you fit into the family tree?
Well, we worked very, very hard. We had chores to do. We worked extremely hard when it was a shallot season. We had to miss sometimes almost a week of school every year. Mm-hmm. We would help Dad in the field with the shallots, and of course when we picked potatoes, I mean, that was a lot of work, and also corn, and we lived off the land, Martin, everything we did, and I can remember that very, very well.
Would you consider yourself, what kind of kid were you? If I asked somebody from the outside looking in about Don Schwab who knew you, were you a good kid, a bad kid, in between?
Mischievous. Got in a lot of trouble with, not trouble, but with my brothers, and Huey and I especially. My brother got killed in 1968, but we got in a few tussles every now and then, and Fernand, my oldest sister, would kind of take care of us, but we were a very, very close family.
Right. I see that today when you get together with your sisters and your brothers. It's a tight-knit, and it's real, it's genuine.
Oh, it's no doubt about it, Martin. And I think that's it's been transferred to my family now with my two girls, and Michelle, Kristen, and Donna Paul, and my grandkids. We were very close. We've been like that all our life.
Before we get to your wife, who's a wonderful lady, let's talk about your early days. Where did you go to school, and bring us from your early days through high school to, of course, college at LSU?
Well, I started at LT Elementary School, and it's a school where your father went to school, and it's right on 308 out of St. John community, going toward Labradorville. Went there from the 1st to the 6th grade. Never wore shoes. Only when it was real cold we had to wear shoes.
You never wore shoes to school?
To school, never wore.
You got to be kidding.
We went barefooted all the time. Everybody was barefooted. Yeah, we never wore shoes. And then in the 7th grade, I went to Thibodeau Elementary, and that's when I was exposed to sports. And I went to Thibodeau Elementary for 7th grade, and 8th and 9th grade went to Thibodeau Junior High. And then from Thibodeau Junior High to Thibodeau High School, which is the West Junior High now in Thibodeau.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm sorry. It must be the East. It's
Okay.
East Junior High.
Okay.
But then from Thibodeau High to LSU.
When did you know, what age did you know that you were a pretty good football player?
Well, Martin, I'm gonna tell you, being from the country, I wasn't exposed to football till I got to Thibodeau in the 7th grade. I really didn't know what football was. Back home, in the LT days, we played nothing but fast pitch softball and had a little basketball, and that was it. Ping pong, croquet, and everything else we could do. But I wasn't exposed to football until I got to Thibodeau Elementary School. A guy by the name of Pap Dupre, who coached me for about the 7th, 8th, and 9th graders, was very instrumental in my career. I mean, he used to bring us home, and from there, I guess I started realizing I was a decent football player when I was in 9th grade at Thibodeau Junior High. And then my sophomore year, we were introduced to a brand new coach at Tick Tatum. And go back to junior high, and I know Pat Zush was my coach.
Oh.
Pat Zush and Pap Dupre coaches, and learned so much from those guys. You know, Pat Zush today still is a vital part of my background in the sports world, and he was just a great coach. And of course, his record speaks for himself what he did at D.D. White. And then Tick Tatum was our coach in high school. He had just came to Thibodeau High School when I was a sophomore, and because I was surrounded by so many good players, Martin, and it made Don Schwab a better player.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very fortunate to get to be recruited and wound up at LSU.
Not only a good athlete, but your work ethic. Talk about your work ethic. What was it like at practice every day?
Oh, we worked hard. I was always not bragging, but I was a very good practice player. I didn't take any time off. I guess I had to at times, especially at LSU. I'd hold my own at Thibodeau High School, and once again we played. I mean, we had some good football teams at Thibodeau High School. Played against some great competition back in those days, and it carried over to LSU. And when I got to LSU, it was so competitive. You know, you were going against guys as good as you or better, and you had to work hard to succeed.
When you were being recruited from Thibodeau, of course, LSU wanted you, but I also learned that Ole Miss wanted you pretty bad too.
Yeah.
When you had to make that decision, what did it come down to?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, we took a trip to Oxford, Mississippi, our senior year, Joe LaBruzza and I, and we flew up there in a plane from Schriever. Johnny Vaught was recruiting us very, very hard, and believe me, after our trip, I'd almost decided to go to Ole Miss, and Joe talked me out of it. And on our way back home, we talked quite a bit, and he says, "Don, you can't go to Ole Miss." He says, "If I go to LSU, would you come?" I said, "Yeah, I guess so. We'll talk about it." Then when we got back home, after about a week, somebody from Tulane really got involved in Joe LaBruzza and really had him convinced to go to New Orleans. And it was a combination of, at that time, I'd gone from Ole Miss, and of course my brother Jerry played football at Southeastern, and I almost wound up at Southeastern. But Joe and I kind of got together in the track season, our senior year in high school, and we kept talking about it, and then we finally decided we would go to LSU. And it was.
I knew you were a rebel, but I never thought you would end up a rebel. It was that close, huh?
It was very close. It was extremely close.
Naturally, you decided LSU. Great decision. Talk about your career there.
Well, I was fortunate. I was signed by Paul Dietzel. We were the last freshman class signed by Paul Dietzel. And then when he left for West Point, the job was turned over to Coach Charlie Mack. And just a great guy, a great players coach. And, back then, freshmen didn't play. We had a freshman season, and then I was redshirted. And I got in a little trouble my redshirt year, and I was asked to leave school, and that's when I went back home and worked on the sugarcane farm with my dad, and realized that I need to get my butt back in school because I didn't want to be a farmer the rest of my life. I did that all my life.
The obvious follow-up. How did you get in trouble?
Well, it was just one night we just did some things that we didn't have to do. You know, a little pity pat fight here and a pity pat fight there. So, but it was a poor decision on my part at that time, and I spent the whole fall season out of school. In the spring semester, I went back to LSU. Off scholarship, and that was quite an experience in itself. Lived in the Pentagon, old Pentagon barracks. I'm sure you're familiar with them, and learned to know that I learned to appreciate a football scholarship a lot more than in the Pentagon. When we started spring training, after my red shirt at my first year at LSU, I was 8th on the depth chart. I mean, that's how many fullbacks they had, 8, and I was number 8.
Wow.
And for the spring game of that spring, I was up to 2 behind Buddy Hammock. So that you know, it took a lot of work. And
was that a turning point for you when you got in trouble, had to go back home and sit out? Was that what changed your attitude about things?
I tell you what, that changed it quite a bit, Martin. But Nancy Rose changed the rest of it.
I was fixing to get to her too.
When we met, it really changed my life around.
How did you meet Nancy?
Well, we met in the old student union. They were in the process of building a new student union at LSU. We met in the old one, and she was a sweetheart for one of the guys, one of the companies in ROTC. At those times, you had to go to ROTC for 2 years, you know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And David Poche, a guy that signed at LSU after I did, a couple of years after, he wound up being All-American at McNeese, introduced Nancy and I. And from day one, you know, I was just very fortunate, you know, very fortunate.
Were you smitten the first time you saw her? No, don't lie to me.
A little bit.
Okay. Was she smitten?
Yeah, definitely. It just worked out, and you know, and the good thing about it, her father had a restaurant in Tigertown, you know, a little Italian restaurant,
right.
And but it was a great relationship, and a year later we were married. So my last 2 years at LSU, I was married, and I think that had a lot to do with me settling down. It really did.
When I mention her name, you still get excited.
Oh, I definitely do. You know?
How long have y'all been married?
It'll be. Oh, Martin, you had to ask me a question? It'll be 40 years.
Get it close.
It'll be 40 years in June.
And it's been a good marriage.
Oh, it has been. And, you know, 3 wonderful kids and 5 great grandchildren, and it's been a good life.
What has she meant to your life, especially recently while campaigning?
Oh, she's been everything. She's been a rock of Gibraltar, believe me. She has stood by my side and just did all the work and never complained one time, did everything possible, and believe me, she wants to go to as many things as I go to, as many as she can. She wants to be involved, and I like for her to be involved. With her personality and her ability to get along with people, I think she's going to be an asset to me being parish president.
A lot of people, for those who don't know your children, talk about them a little bit.
Michelle Renee is my oldest, lives in Destrehan to Randy Scapara. I have 2 children, Dante and he's very familiar with our guys at HTV, with Bryson and Stefan and all, and he's the oldest. He just made 9 years old, and Jonathan is Michelle and Randy's youngest. He's 6. Christy, our second daughter, and Michelle works for UPS import-export. She's an import-export broker, lives in Destrehan. Christy Lynn is an attorney here in town doing clerk work for Judge Pettigrew. She's married to Sal Mariano and have 2 children, Dominic and Elena. Dominic's 6 and Elena's 3. And Donald Paul is married to Gina Palmazzana, and he's a doctor in town, a general surgeon working with the Rao Group, and you know, went to LSU and went to med school and was away from Houma for a long time. You know, he stayed at spent 5 years in South Carolina doing his residency, but they have 1 child named Sydney, and Sydney's going to be 3. So,
all right. Dominic, always smiling.
Oh, it has a big
smile. Is that
smile.
smile imprinted on his face?
I think so. Sometimes people wonder if it is. Got them big dimples, and
that kid could be crying, and you still think he's smiling.
He's just a happy child. He really is. But well, we are really blessed, Martin. You know, not with just our kids, but with our grandkids.
Right. Let's talk about after LSU. What happened then? You really got involved in coaching, and that sort of set the pace for the next well, not the next few years, but
Yeah.
a long number of years for you.
I tell you what, my senior year didn't turn out to where I wanted to. I hurt my knee in a PE class. Well, I had a bad knee from my sophomore year, and was very fortunate, my first 2 years to have the success that I did. In my senior year, I got hurt in the PE class, and I missed about 5 games. Very frustrated, Martin. You always have visions playing on the next level.
Right.
And I had some opportunities to go that time to AFL, and I had surgery on my knee and said it wasn't worth it.
Right.
So I spent an extra year at LSU as a student assistant under Coach Mack, and really got involved in a lot of scouting for Coach Mack, and putting some scouting reports together of the people that we will play next week. And I really got in my blood, and I was very fortunate that I got a great job at a school called Sam Barth High School in Baton, Louisiana. It was an all-boys school. It was a coaching paradise, believe me. It was just all boys, and we had them 19-year-old seniors, and we were very competitive, and had a great career there. We were surrounded by so many great players, and really, really enjoyed it. So that's what took off my coaching career.
How much did Charlie Mack influence you in those days?
Oh, quite a bit. I mean, he gave me an opportunity, and he was the one that released me from my scholarship my redshirt year, and he's the one that gave me an opportunity to come back. Made it very difficult. Now, it wasn't easy, but I admire him so much for that, and he was just a great individual, and
Right.
he was a player's coach and really cared about his players.
Do you think maybe he released you, knew it made you tick, and knew you would come back fighting to get back on that
Well,
team? Was he a psychologist at the same time?
I would like to think he did, but I really had a good time spending a lot of time with my father and on the farm. But I knew then that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life doing
Right.
that. And once again, I went back not on scholarship, and my dad did a lot to help me get back in school. So it was an experience.
Where did you go from Sam Barth?
From Sam Barth High School, I spent a year with Sonny Jackson at Central High School in Baton Rouge. And then after that, I was fortunate enough to be named the head coach and athletic director at H.L. Bourgeois.
Right.
Came here in 1973
Right.
and stayed there for 7 years, and had a great time at H.L. Bourgeois. I've had a lot of fond memories there. L.P. Bordelon, Willie Guidry, and them guys I worked for were just great people.
Now, you started that program.
Yes, we did, Martin. We were the first coaching staff there, and believe me, it was awfully difficult. I mean, and we didn't win many games our first year, but we got very competitive from there on out, from a lot of hard work from a lot of coaches and a lot of players.
Greg Badron was your quarterback.
Yes,
Right.
Kurt Shakespeare was a wide receiver.
That was a good tandem.
Yeah, Fritz Dryden played. I got to mention Fritz. Calvin Buxton, who's still coaching, and Pat Olivier, who was now a state trooper.
Right.
And, we had some good football players. And at that time, Martin, the guys from Terrebonne had a decision to make. They had an opportunity to stay at Terrebonne or come to H.L. Bourgeois. And, that's how we got the Kurt Shakespeare's, the David Bridges, the John Abshires,
Right.
all those Leroy Lee Red, all those guys decided they wanted to come to Bourgeois. And we were very fortunate,
Now, how many years you said you had Bourgeois?
That's 7 years. I spent 7 years there.
You had some pretty good athletes. Jesse Miles,
Oh, we did.
Mitch Andrews.
Yeah, we did. Mitch Andrews was a sophomore, and Steven Spinelli was a sophomore my last year there. And of course, I could name so many of them. Emil Email. Oh Lord, it's so many people.
Right.
Jesse Miles and David Drury, who's works for us here in the government.
Right.
He's in charge of this building, the government towers building. He was.
I hope he
good
liked
football-
you. He's in charge of those elevators.
That's right. But it's it's so many of them that it made it possible for us to be successful, Martin.
I still see some of your ex-players come up to you, and they don't call you Mr. Don or Don. Even today, you're the parish president, but they still call you Coach.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, I tell you what, it's very gratifying, and it just feels wonderful that people still respect you enough to call you Coach. I mean, Martin, I tell you, you just develop a relationship with some guys, and all the guys that I coach, I feel very fortunate to have coached them. But you build a relationship, and it lasts a long time, and you're right, some of them still do that.
You then, after Bourgeois, went to Nichols, right?
Well, after Bourgeois, you know, you get burnt out. I was kind of burnt out of coaching. I got out of coaching.
That's
Went
right.
to work for Patterson Truck Line,
That's
Patterson
true, yeah.
Inspection,
Yeah, okay.
for 4 years, and wanted to know what the private sector looked like, and I needed it. I mean, you know, it was so difficult in those days, Martin. I started a program at St. Barth. We started a program at H.L. Bourgeois,
Right.
and it was very, very hard work. I mean, we worked 7 days a week, and that's how you worked in those days. I mean, you still do it today. Today, the only difference is they work 12 months, and instead of we try to put it in 9 months. And but it was difficult. It really was.
Did coaching prepare you, and we're going to move on to Vanderbilt, Nichols, and all. Did coaching prepare you for what you're faced with now? You can't please everybody when you're coaching.
Right.
You can't please everybody when you're parish president.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what it did, Martin. And you know, it's when I first sat down with my family, when we first discussed that I was gonna maybe, you know, it was even thinking about running for parish president. I think we learned a lot. I did. My family learned a lot. You have to have thick skin when you're married to a coach, or your father is a coach. I mean, because the people in the stands, as you well know, till these days, they still talk about coaches on the sideline. and I feel as though that it really prepared me for being parish president. Because when you're on the political front, and you know, and you working for so many people, you better have thick skin, because people are going to talk about you. Because not everybody's going to vote for you. Not everybody's going to like you. We're just going to do the best that we can.
Isn't it harder on the family? When you're coaching, you're involved in the game. You're not focused on the fans. But the wives and the family, they're in the stands.
That's right.
And they hear it all.
Hear it every
So it's
play.
tougher on them, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Oh, it's no doubt about it. I mean, they would never. Nancy would never tell me, but I know, because my friends would tell me that.
Right.
And you know, and it wasn't a lot of people. You're going to have that regardless of where you're coaching or how successful you are. I'm sure Nick Saban, you know, who just won the national championship, and they got a lot of people that do that to him. Okay, and that's just the nature of the business. I mean, that's the way it
I was about to
is.
say, you were a winner. Everywhere you went, you won.
It maybe took us a couple of years to get there, but
you still won everywhere you went.
We were very fortunate, you know.
Talk about your days at Nichols with Sonny Jackson again.
Yeah, well, when I the little 4 years I spent off, I spent 2 years with Sonny Jackson, and of course Sonny and I are very, very close. I was offensive coordinator for 2 years and really enjoyed it. I think that the thing that I didn't like the most about college coaching is the recruiting. I was always a home kind of guy and enjoyed being home with my kids, and I'm gonna tell you, Martin, that to be successful on the college level, you got to recruit, and you got to get out there and you know, and Nichols today still faces a lot of the same problems that we faced years ago. Is money. It's not there. You have to work, constantly work, you know, every month, 12 months out of the year, just to get money, just to help supplement what you need for your football program. And but it was an enjoyable 2 years. I got to coach once again some great players. Mark Carrier, who played in the NFL for about 12 years, was a great, you know, the Strapolas. Doug Hudson, Keith Menard,
Dwight Walker.
Dwight Walker. Well, Dwight was before me.
Was he?
You know,
Okay.
yeah. Reed Perry, who coached at Vanderbilt, played for me. Garrett Hohensee, Lynn Bychurch. I mean, guys like that. Scotty Hildebrand, who coached at Hornville for a couple of years. And
Did you ever have a chance? Was Jay Pennison there when you were there?
no, he wasn't.
He was before?
Yeah, I coached against Jada when I was at Bourgeois. I remember. He was a good one. He was a good one.
So then that prepared you to make another decision coming down the road. Then all of a sudden, some more knocks on the Don Schwab door, and where did you end up next?
I wound up at Vanderbilt High School, and I had an opportunity that not many people get, that is to coach your son, and that was a great 5 years, Martin. I really enjoyed it. The first year we wasn't very successful. It was. You know, Vanderbilt's always been very, very solid in their football program. We had a couple of lean years, but we instilled in the players that with a lot of hard work and with Joe. You know, once again, Martin, I can't say enough about the staffs I've had over the years, and you know, I had some great people working for me, and at Vanderbilt the same thing, and we had a great time in 5 years, and at the end of 5 years, I finally said, you know, I've had enough, and I need to get away from the game. I got tired of coaching, and that was it. And then when I got away from that time, I said, well, this is it, because I'm not going back.
But you've always stayed close to your coaches who coach with you to this day. I mean, y'all like a fraternity.
Yeah, we are close. Not as close as we should be, I guess. You know, you always say life is too short. You know,
Right.
You need to do more things. But you know, HTV offered me the opportunity to stay close to the game. You know, with the Friday night football, something I enjoy doing, and hopefully we can get back one day. I'd love to get back there.
We had fun doing it. That's why
Yeah.
it's so hard doing these serious interviews.
But you know, and I stayed close to the game. I was able to, you know, we were able to, you know, do a game every Friday night, and I really enjoyed it. And I love high school football. I think it's the greatest thing going. And it really disappoints me sometimes. And I've said this, and I'll repeat it to the day I die. More people got to get involved in high school football. I mean, you look in the stands and you see poor kids on the field, and sometimes their parents aren't even in the stadium, you know, watching them, and that's a disappointment.
That's got to kill you.
It
sometimes
does.
to see that.
It really does. I mean, I've always said that. You know, you've heard me say it many times on the air, and it's one of my pet peeves. And you know, people got to get involved. You wonder what's wrong with kids today, and I think it's parental involvement. I really believe that. You know, we're going to do what's right for Terrebonne Parish. We will not deviate. We're going to, if it's on black and white, that's what we're going to do. We're not going to treat anybody any different than anybody else, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of how much money you have. Everybody's going to be treated the same. And you know, you could go back and inquire and ask how many people, the people I've worked for or with, and that's how we've always coached, and that's my philosophy of life. I mean, I think you know, everybody should be treated the same.
You're a matter-of-fact kind of guy. When you worked at HTV, I could see that when Don Schwab focuses on something and he says something, that's what he means.
No, exactly.
Now, that can be great for you, or it can get you in trouble. Now you're the parish president. You're going to make a few people mad, aren't you?
Oh yes, there's no doubt about it. You're not going to satisfy everybody, Martin. And but you know, we're going to do what's right for Terrebonne Parish. We will not deviate. We're going to, if it's on black and white, that's what we're going to do. We're not going to treat anybody any different than anybody else, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of how much money you have. Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to be treated the same. And you know, you could go back and inquire and ask how many people, the people I've worked for or with, and that's how we've always coached, and that's my philosophy of life. I mean, I think you know, everybody should be treated the same.
Mm-hmm. One thing I've noticed about you over the years, you love underdogs. You're not for the guy who's supposed to go 12-0 in football or supposed to be the president. You're for the guy who's 3-9, who's trying to be 12-0.
Exactly. I love those guys that work and that doesn't have maybe as much talent as the team that they're playing, but it takes a lot of work, and that's what it takes. You know, everybody's not blessed like a John Curtis, like an evangel, like some of the parochial schools in the city, and that you know, I won't say recruit, but they have that
Right.
They have that edge of getting kids to come from all over. You know, all the public schools have an area to get, you know, they get their players from a certain area. They don't have that luxury of getting kids
Right.
throughout Terrebonne Parish, and it's not nothing wrong with it. I mean, you know, because I coached at Vanderbilt for 5 years and all of my kids went there. But the guys that work, and you know, Martin, on Friday nights, you can see the guys that work, and all these coaches do a great job. Don't get me wrong, but I'm always for the guy that's got his back against the wall and is coming out fighting. I like that.
Not only after coaching did you work for us at HTV, but you also worked for another friend, O'Neill Mulbrew.
Yes.
What did you take from that?
Oh, look, I tell you what, I learned what hard work was. O'Neill Mulbrew is a workaholic. I mean, he works from sunup till way past sundown, believe me. He's just, and he's a personal friend of mine, and he helped me out a lot in the situation that I was in at that time. But you know, I learned about hard work from Neil. I'm gonna tell you, and he enjoys life. You know that. Y'all have had some together sometimes singing, and you know, he loves life. I mean, he's a very, very happy person, but he's also a good friend.
Then it came to the time when you decided that you're going to run for parish president. And got to be honest, some people are saying great, some people are saying, I think he's crazy. He shouldn't do that. But you decided to do it. When you made up your mind, you won a mission, weren't you?
Oh yes, there's no doubt. And Martin, I'm gonna tell you to let the people know, and I know that everybody I've told this to, is it was an extremely tough decision to make. My family, we met about 3 or 4 times, and I finally, when you know me very well, when I make a decision, I'm gonna go 100%. And I told him that I thought we could make a difference, and that's what I ran on. And of course, my brother wasn't too excited about it first. Jerry thought I was crazy, but he said as if I really wanted to do it, he was gonna back me 100%. And that's what my family did. I mean, they went over beyond the call of duty, believe me, Martin, all of them, and all my friends that got involved, and it just kind of mushroomed. It kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then a lot of people said, "Well, you can't win." I says, "Well, I don't want to hear that. Don't tell me I can't win or I can't succeed, because I've proven before I can."
Well, I've seen you at football games, walk up the stadium. Hey, Don, hey, Don, hey, Don, everywhere you went. So you had a pretty good base to start. Through coaching and through playing, wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. You know, Mark, when you touch so many people's lives, and that I have in the 7 years at H.R. Bourgeois, 2 at Nichols, 5 at Vanderbilt, the 7 years I spent as a recreation director, you're gonna come in contact with a lot of people,
right.
And and I've been blessed. I was successful with a lot of hard work and with a lot of great coaches and a lot of great athletes that put in a lot of time. And I think they remembered that, and it helped me in our campaign. It helped me a great deal.
For people who don't really know you, we were eating lunch today. 15 people came by the table. You're not a real talkative guy in depth. You a get to the point kind of guy. Tell me what you want. Either I can help you or I can't help you. What kind of advice would you tell viewers when they come meet with Don Schwab? Get to the point?
Get to the point. Yes. Only because nowadays, Martin, it's one thing after another. But I want to tell the people out there. Most of those people knew Martin Falls. They didn't know Don Schwab. They were coming to see you.
A lot of them knew you too. By the way, Don, I need this help or this. But I mean, how has this changed your life? I know you see a change already. A lot of people asking for favors already?
Yeah, they have, and I've disappointed some of them, Martin. I really have. I ran saying that I wasn't going to make any promises, and I sincerely mean that. I haven't promised anybody any jobs, and I haven't given anybody any jobs. People have called for positions, and I says, look, you're going to apply with the Human Resource Department like everybody else, and if there's a position open, we'll post it. And if you interview and you get the job, fine. If you don't, I'm sorry. But I am not going to promise anybody a job.
But isn't that the way government should be?
It should work like that. I mean, and I'm not saying anything what happened in the past. I can't control what happened in the past.
Right.
The only thing that my administration can do is control what happens in the future, and that's what I'm interested in.
Speaking of the past, the transition was pretty smooth.
It was. I tell you what, Mr. Bobby Bazeron was very cooperative with me for about 2 or 3 weeks. He helped me quite a bit. I came in his office, sat and talked with him on 3 different occasions. Gave me some input. It was very, very helpful, Martin. Without that, man, I'm going to tell you, I'd have been really in a bind. And the secretaries that helped, the 2 secretaries that we brought in, and the transition went fine.
He took a lot of heat for things that he did. One of them was this building that we're doing the interview in. But when you look at it, it is a good image for Terrebonne Parish. So do you think some of that heat was undue?
I think so. It's only because of the price, and it was a pretty good price. But now it's definitely a building that everybody in Terrebonne Parish could be very proud of. It could be proud of the fact that when people come visit, or they come to see a Don Schwab or Barry Blackwell or Martin Black or anybody in government, when they come up here, it's a very impressive building. We got a huge conference room. People, their first thoughts could say, man, Terrebonne Parish is a class place, and this sets the tone right here. It starts right here.
You got your crew in order now. You got your staff in order. How pleased are you with each position, each person that you put in place? Very
pleased. I have a couple more that we're going to do next week at the council meeting, but I am very pleased and very excited the direction that we going, Martin. And it's going to take a while. I'm still in the learning stage. I mean, I'm getting acclimated every day to something different, but the cooperation I've got from all the department heads and the people that work for government and some of my friends in town it's been unbelievable.
I know what makes you tick because I was with you for so long, but for those watching tonight, what's Don Schwab all about?
Don Schwab's about being honest, being fair, doing what's right, not cutting corners, want everybody to handle themselves very professional, want everybody to be very accountable for what they do, you know, not only to themselves but to the people that's above them or the people that's below them. And that's it. It's nothing fancy about Don Schwab. Is you know, Martin, what you see is what you get. You know,
An occasional beer, one of the guys,
no doubt,
likes a good football game,
no doubt about that.
cigar.
Not that anymore.
Well,
Give
you
it up.
used to.
Used to.
I used to remember sometimes in your mouth it wasn't even lit.
That's right. I might puff on a big one every now and then. You know,
Right.
one of the expensive ones when somebody gives me one. But I got away from that.
But do you enjoy, I know this is a lot of stress being up in this office now and running Terrebonne Parish. How important now is it to get off, get with your family, get with your friends, and let your hair down?
Oh, well, we do that. I mean, we still do that. You know, I get here early in the morning. I get home at a reasonable time at night, and able to spend time with my grandkids that are here. And I talk to Michelle quite a bit, and talk to the boys. And that's not going to change, Martin. I'm gonna still have a personal and private life. But you know, when you're here, you have to work, and that's the name of the game. And that's what you hear.
But
That's
this
what you
will
will
not consume Don Schwab.
No,
I know
it's not. It's not. It's not going to. I'm not going to spend my whole 24 hours a day being parish president. I'm going to have a private, you know, I'm going to have a personal life, and with not only my family but my friends.
When do you know when to cut it off with the public? Whenever you're out in public, you know there's 50 people waiting to ask you advice, favor, or to let you know what they think about something.
Well, the only thing I would like to tell the public, Martin, is that I would appreciate they respect my free time as much as I would respect theirs. I mean, there's nothing wrong with people coming up to you and talking to you and saying, you know, good luck. That's fine.
Right.
But you know, for the guy that's going to spend, you know, take 10 minutes, 15 minutes of time when you grocery shopping, and that happens.
Right.
You know, I don't think that's fair to me. I don't think it's fair to any public servant. Okay. But you know, I'll be willing to talk. I answer all my phone calls. I mean, I don't care who calls. I'm gonna call you back. But you know, I think they have to. I think people need to respect your private life.
One thing I did learn about Don Schwab when you worked at HTV, you are organized. I'm looking at your desk now. That's ridiculous, Don.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, where's all the papers at?
It's here. It's here. It's
You got everything filed
I'm
and
telling
neat
you,
and orderly?
and I still have to look for things. But no, I've always been like that. I've always been a pretty good organizer, and I like things in place. And much not like my brother Jerry. I walked in my brother's office so many times. Jerry's got stuff all over his desk. Being an attorney, he says, I said, I love your filing system, man. He said, Don, he said, look, I know exactly where everything's at, so I don't fool with it.
And you gave me a Rolodex when you were leaving
Yeah,
HTV,
you
an
said
electric
you
one.
broke it.
But it works for you and it doesn't work for
I'm
me.
telling you, you don't
The
have
magic
to touch, man. I'm gonna get it working for you.
What makes you laugh the most? What makes you laugh? What makes you laugh? What makes you just forget about everything and say, man, that was good?
I don't know, Martin. That's a tough question. It's
I see you laughing a lot when you're with a group of friends.
Oh, I do. I run with some pretty good guys, and you know, you make me laugh a lot. Some of the things that you do
Off camera.
with your friends. You know, you're too bad on your friends, man. I'm gonna tell you. But I just enjoy life, Martin. You know, it's nothing different from that Don Schwab does from anybody else. I just enjoy life. I enjoy being around my friends. I enjoy being around my family. And I enjoy having a good time.
Another thing I noticed, when you're around your elders, you're very respectful.
Oh yes.
That's changed over the years with some of the new generation, hasn't it?
Oh yes. Boy, it irritates me when I see young people don't say yes sir, yes ma'am, no sir. You know, it just irritates me to no end. You know, my father had a third-grade education. My mother had a third-grade education. But I'm gonna tell you what, there's one thing that we did learn, and I'm sure you were the same thing with your father and mother. You better say thank you and please and you're welcome, because that wasn't very hard to do. It's very cheap.
Right.
You don't pay anything for it, but manners, Martin, I think is something that's been lost. It really has. And it's more so, you can see it more so when you're teaching and coaching. I mean, the teachers nowadays have that problem, and that comes from home. That comes from the house. And it should change. It's got to change. And it really irritates me.
What player did you coach that made you the most proud over all the years? Excluding your son, because that's a natural tendency.
Yeah.
But what player would you say?
Oh, Martin, that's a very difficult question, man. I'm gonna tell you, I had so many. I
told you I would throw a few difficult questions.
You are. I mean, that's a shame, man. You're gonna get a lot of guys mad.
But I'll make one very happy.
I would think, and and once again, I had so many great football players that played for me, but I would have to say Mark Weiss. Mark Weiss was the epitome of a high school football player. He worked extremely hard. He knew only one speed. He was respected by his teammates. He was a good student in school. He came from a great family. I think Mark Weiss would be. But once again, I mean, I could go down and I could name you probably 100 of them that did. But Mark Weiss stood out. To a lot of people. I mean, because of his work habits. I mean, it was contagious to his teammates. I mean, and he worked extremely hard.
All right, now we're gonna have a little fun. Favorite musician of all time. Now I'm gonna really pin you down on these, so don't give me 3 or 4. I want one. Okay?
Musician?
Musician.
Oh, that's easy.
All right.
Fast Domino.
I knew you were gonna say that. What's your favorite song that he sang?
Oh, Blueberry Hill.
Come on, you want to give us a couple?
No.
This ain't no Neil Marlboro.
Neil Marlboro and I and Jack Rabbit Barton, we'll sing that sometimes at some parties,
Okay.
But I used to like the Fat Man. I saw him many times live, and I really enjoyed his performance.
A lot of memories, huh?
Yeah, very. Lots of them.
Now, if you had to pick a female vocalist, who would it be?
Oh, man. You got me there. I like Dolly Parton.
Okay.
I like her voice. Don't even go there, Martin. You said you're going to keep this thing clean, yeah?
It's clean. I just was laughing, okay?
Hey, well, I'm telling you.
Nancy, it's not me. Okay? You're going to give me a laugh and I won't be able to stop. Your favorite band of all time?
Oh, man. Oh, Van Broussard.
Really?
Van Broussard.
What did he sing?
He had a band from. They were from Gonzales. He used to play at the Mike's in Chackbay for years and years. You don't even.
No.
That's the way you wasn't even born.
I'm
yet.
learning. You're teaching me today. You're teaching.
But some of the people that's gonna be watching this show, they're gonna remember Van Broussard at Mike's in Chackbay.
Okay.
They were pretty good.
If you had to pick the one defining moment in your life that just changed your life, for good or bad to good, or whatever it would be, what would it be?
I think when I lost my scholarship, came back to Labradorville to farm, and when I got back in school, that changed it. I sincerely believe if I don't go back to school, I don't know what Don Schwab would have wound up. It's scary to even think about that. I thought about it many times, and I put it on the shelf and kind of left it there, and I don't know where I'd have wound up, Martin. It's a scary thought.
That's a great example, though, for players watching, students watching.
Exactly.
That are in a crossroads situation.
Right.
You wouldn't be parish president today.
There's no doubt. And a lot of good things happened to me. I had a great sophomore year, and my junior year was even better, and of course my senior year turning out getting hurt. But everything after that, Martin was very positive. You know, meeting Nancy, getting married, having my kids, and you know, my coach. Everything fell into place, and I realized then that when I went back to Baton Rouge, you know, I made the commitment. You know, I said, Don, you know, you got to make a choice. You either do it or you go back to Lavderville, and no telling where Don Schwab winds up.
How fun was it for you? You went to bowl games. You had a great career at LSU. This year had to be special for you.
Oh, it was. It was just, and you were there, Martin, and I tell a lot of people this. Whoever had the opportunity to go to the Sugar Bowl this year and didn't go for various reasons that, you know, they maybe didn't feel like to go fool with the crowd. They missed the experience of their life. It was, and you in the field could identify with this probably more than anybody. The electricity in the stadium, the noise, just the excitement on the sidelines from the players. I mean, it was a great thing to watch. It really was.
I saw people doing things they would never do.
Yes.
Tailgating was out of this world. It was unbelievable.
I don't think they've ever seen the tailgating that happened for the Sugar Bowl ever around the Super Bowl. I mean, the Sugar Bowl.
That was unbelievable. That was unbelievable.
It was.
Is that what really sets LSU apart from other schools?
I think so. I really do.
It's close knit.
Yeah, LSU has some unique fans, Martin, and over the years you learn to appreciate the LSU football a little bit more and more. If you go on Saturday nights at Tiger Stadium, it kind of grows on you. I mean, you know, you've got some obnoxious fans. I mean, of course, they have every university has them. You're gonna have some good ones and you're gonna have some bad ones. But I dare, you know, most schools, almost all schools, have more good ones than bad ones. But LSU is unique in its own little way, and I think the tailgating at LSU is no comparison to it anywhere I've ever been. And I've been to a lot of stadiums.
In 4 years, when I come up and interview you again, we're going to see you quite a bit from time to time. But in 4 years, if I said, how did you like the way things went while you were parish president? You might be looking for re-election. You might decide to get out. What would you hope you accomplish while you're here?
Well, there's so many things this parish needs. But right now, Martin, I would think if we could fix the drainage system in this parish, help the poor in this parish, continue to give the services to the people of Terrebonne Parish that they need, I would consider my 4 years very successful.
It's the one question I like to ask everybody. I asked them all, and I got a different answer for everybody I asked. When it's all said and done, and you got to meet your maker, and you're able to get a flash of your tombstone sitting there, and they can put one word on that tombstone
Oh, Lord.
that they would remember you by, what would the one word be?
Fair.
No one's picked fair yet.
He was
new one.
huh? No
That's
one's
a new
picked
one.
it.
No one's picked it yet. Is that what Don Schwab's all about,
I
fairness?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I really am.
And another thing, and I got to close with this one. You're more sensitive than you lead on sometimes.
Oh, yes.
You all hard, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I got a soft heart.
Yeah.
Um,
I've seen it quite a bit.
Oh, yes.
And I think people will see it in the next 4 years. I compare you to like a Dick Vermeil.
Yeah.
You're really passionate
Yeah.
about things that are going on.
I
Is
was
that what
ve-
really
I-
makes you tick?
It does. I was very close to my football players. Of course, I'm very close to my family, and I've got a soft heart, you know. But it can be hard at times. But I have a soft heart.
Yeah. But I've never seen Don Schwab hold grudges that he hasn't dissolved over the years.
I don't think I ever will, Martin. You know, you know, I've told people this. I'm not going to hold a grudge against because they voted for Barrett Beauvalin or Mr. Bobby Badger or Danny Henry, whoever was in the race. Everybody has that choice and have the right to vote and support who they want. And I kept some people in my organization that did not vote for Don Schwab, but they're good for Terrebonne Parish, and that's why I'm keeping them. I will never hold a grudge.
Well, Don, we appreciate you joining us today. You were classy when you were with us at HTV, and you've always been a class actor, and we're pulling for you, and good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Once again, for more Don Schwab remembrances, you can punch up Don's name, and we'll have plenty of those here on HTV as we continue to remember Don Schwab.